Carnival Cruise Corp, what an absolutely insane stock to be following right now. Only 2.5 months ago they were above $50 a share. 2 weeks ago they fell below $10 a share. Last week they rose back up to $18 a share, and today they're below $9 a share after a 30% drop in one day, and the market hasn't opened yet today, so I don't know where they're going to open. I'll try to get a clip of that into this post editing. I made a video on Carnival only 5 days ago, but since then some insane news has come out that could decide whether this company stays above water or sinks. If you do enjoy this video, please do me a massive favour and smash the like button for me. It helps me out tremendously. It helps the videos get seen by more people. Subscribe and hit the bell button so you never miss a future video. And lastly, just drop me a comment with your thoughts on Carnival as a whole, because everybody has an opinion on this company. But anyway, let's get right into the news. So as I've said, there's been lots of news come out on Carnival. I'm going to start off with what is probably the least important piece, is that Carnival Cruise Line extends suspension amid coronavirus outbreak. All North American sailings cancelled through May. Now this was expected by absolutely everybody, and I don't think anybody truly believes that by the time May is over they'll be back up and running. I think the general consensus is that there'll be no cruises until at least June, July, or even August. I mean, the virus is still spreading. They have so much bad press. Nobody wants to go on a cruise right now. I don't see a world where they'll be open by the end of May, but who knows? All we know for definite right now is that they will not be running throughout the months of April and May. But that was just something really small. Now we have to get into the really juicy stuff to do with money and to do with this company potentially surviving or dying. So in the last video, something we obviously spoke about quite a bit was how much money they have and how far that will get them, and it wasn't particularly far. So the question was, will they be able to acquire more money? And that is where this video is going to become interesting. That's what we're going to speak about today. So all we knew as of last time was their operating income for the end of year 2019 was $3,277 million. So that's about how much cash they have on hand right now. So 3 billion sounds like a relatively nice number straight off the bat. Obviously that's an awful lot of money. But how much does it actually cost Carnival to operate, to run their cruises? That is what is more important. You know what I mean? It's no point in having 3 billion if it costs 3 billion a day. So what happens is last year they had to spend over 12.5 billion on operating costs. Okay, so now that 3 billion looks an awful lot smaller, and we can come to the realization that it cost them approximately last year 1 billion a month, just over $1 billion a month. But for the sake of today's video and simplicity, we're going to say that they have to spend about 1 billion a month in order to, you know, run their cruise lines. So right now Carnival only have 3.2 billion, and they're not bringing in any money because all of their cruises are suspended. So this paints a very horrible picture. They only have enough cash on hand to survive the next 3-ish months if they're not bringing in any money, or so it would seem. But there is a lot more to be taken into account with how much money they're going to have to spend in the coming months compared to the last 12 months. And this is the news that we have to speak about today. This is the headline that changes everything. Carnival Corp secures rescue financing package on Wednesday to help the embattled cruise ship operator navigate choppy waters in the months ahead. This is the news that we were waiting for that changes absolutely everything. So originally Carnival were looking to get a $3 billion bond to try help them get through these tough times. What they actually ended up doing was they came to a $4 billion bond, right, a secured bond that offers investors an 11.5% coupon, yielding near 12% yield on debt that matures in 2023. So it's a 3-year bond with a 12% yield. You know that Carnival is desperate when they're taking 12% interest 3-year bonds. But that is 4 billion that they now have to help them get through these tough times. And that's not where it ends with the money they've actually taken in. They also plan to raise $1.7 billion worth of bonds that will later on turn into shares, and $1.25 billion of new equity, totaling $7 billion new dollars on top of their 3.2 billion. So let's just say they're at 10 billion. So what we can now say is they can get through approximately 10 months of their normal operating expenses. But, and it's a massive but, their operating expenses right now are going to be nowhere near what they were in the last 12 months. Their cruise ships are docked, their staff, a lot of them are sent home. They're not paying for fuel, they're not paying nearly as much money as they were beforehand. And we can see that just by coming back up to this graph. Let's just look at payroll, for example. That was 2.25 billion for last year. Do you think they're going to be paying people anywhere near that much? No. First of all, they're going to lay off an awful lot of staff. People will take salary cuts. Some people won't be working at all. There is going to be way less staff. If people aren't on the cruises, do you think they're going to pay as many chefs, as many performers, things like that? No, they're just going to keep on the essential staff who can make sure that the cruises are okay, they're staying healthy, you know, people who work on the engines and things along those lines. And we can see that if we just look at the little blue bubble, commissions, transportation, and other 2.72 billion, that's obviously going to be so much lower. And other ship operating at 2.93 billion, their biggest operating expense is their ship operations. it's going to be so much lower because the ships aren't doing anything. And it should be known as well, we just mentioned that they took on that $4 billion bond. They actually had interest from investors and banks alike of over $10 billion. So if Carnival gets to a stage where they need more money, they already have it. They haven't put up all of their ships as collateral just yet. They can get more money if they need to. So they'll be able to survive for quite a while making zero income. Like right now at their normal operating expenses, they can only survive about 10 months or so, maybe 8 to 10 months. But think about how much less their operating expenses are realistically going to be. They could easily fall as much as 70 to 80%, if not more, which would largely increase those numbers to 2 to 4 years, depending on just how much they can decrease their operating expenses. And you have to keep in mind as well, like they cancel their share buybacks, they cancel their dividend, they cancel their advertising, so all of that is going to be lower in their expenses. And then think about it as well, if these cruises are back up by June, July, August, they're going to be bringing money in again. And a lot of people, when this is all over, are still going to want to go on their cruise. Look at this, the company received 39,000 bookings since it stopped sailing, and 45% of customers chose credit for future trips as opposed to cash refunds. So a lot of these people still want to go on their cruise. Nearly 18,000 people still want to go on their cruise despite everything that's happening. So let's just say that within 3 to 5 months they're operating nearly as per usual again. They're going to pick up right where they left off. And can they survive that long? Easily. They can very, very easily survive that long. The longer this goes on, the less money they're going to be paying, the less expenses they're going to have, the more staff that will get, laid off temporarily, things along those lines. Now, right now, are they desperate? Yes, they're extremely desperate. You would never even dream of taking a 12% bond if you weren't. But as of right now, it was their best option to stay above water. I'm sorry about the puns, I just can't help it. Now here's something that actually shines a positive light on Carnival for once, because they're just getting absolutely destroyed in the media. Carnival offers use of its cruise ships as temporary hospitals. And this is something that cruise ships have done in the past. They've leased out their ships to governments to use as either temporary hospitals or emergency housing for the homeless, things along those lines. This would mean that the ships would actually be bringing in some sort of income. They wouldn't just be sitting idly. These hospitals generally wouldn't be used to treat people hit by the virus that's going around right now. They would be used for other people, emergency hospital beds, whatever it is. But they can definitely help out massive companies like the US who have done these kind of things before. So this is just something that could happen in the short term that could potentially make the cash sheet look even a little bit better. I think if there's anything to take from the news today, it's that Carnival can get through this next while. You know what I mean? They have enough cash on hand for their normal operating expenses for about 8 to 10 months. And they're not going to be paying anywhere near their regular operating expenses for 8 to 10 months. And that's assuming that they make $0 for the next 8 to 10 months. And again, most people see cruise lines operating again in summer, June to August, somewhere around that line. And that is when this company will start making money again. And people still want to go on cruises. 45% of the people who got refunds from Carnival got credit for future cruises. They didn't get their cash back because they still want that money to go towards their cruise. And keep in mind that that's in a really uncertain time. A lot of people will get laid off. A lot of people won't know how much money they have. And they were still willing to leave that money aside to go on a Carnival cruise as opposed to taking it out and knowing that it'll be, going towards their emergency fund or something along those lines. If you just look at Carnival at face value, and if you look at the money they have and their previous earnings and all of those things, it might paint a relatively bleak picture. But if you read between the lines and see how much money they now have, how much they're going to be able to cut their costs, how long they can survive, and when they'll start making money again, I think this could be an amazing opportunity to get into the market. Me personally, I've still stayed away from investing in them for no other reason than they're really scary. But if they get cheap enough, of course I'm going to put some money into them. This could be the biggest growth stock ever, who knows? And you know what's probably going to happen in the next few days? More people are going to sell them because of the news, because of what they're seeing, because they're getting more and more afraid, because they cut their dividend, because they're not doing share buybacks, all of that stuff. More people are going to be selling them. But guess what? In my opinion, this was already factored into the price of Carnival stock. And now people are factoring it in twice. They're factoring it in twice. Remember the first time it dipped below $10? That was because people foresaw this happening. People saw dividends being cut. People didn't think there was going to be any buybacks. People thought that they were going to have to suspend their ships for longer than previously expected. And now it's happened. And the exact same thing's happening again. It's being factored in twice. And the first time it was factored in massively. The stock went down 80% from its previous highs. 80%! That's more than the large majority of companies that have gotten hit due to this virus. Look, every company right now has the possibility of going bankrupt. We've spoke about Delta a lot on the channel, and the only reason people still have, a lot of confidence in them is because of the bailout that the US has given. And they're not giving that to Carnival because they're not technically a US company or whatever. But If that bailout's the only reason you decide to invest in a company, that's a terrible reason. If that's the leading decision for your investment, in my opinion, that is just a horrible piece of... You're basically admitting that you don't believe in a company's ability to get through tough times. Now obviously yes, the bailout does influence whether you invest in a company or not. You know what I mean? It's a positive if they are going to get bailed out. I am in Delta. I obviously got into them before I got into Carnival. I'm not even in Carnival yet because I believe in them more. But that is not entirely just because of the fact they are getting bailed out by the US. So I think that's important to remember. You're investing in a company. You're not investing in a company getting bailed out. So if you do believe in Carnival, if you believe they'll get through this tough time, then right now they are so cheap. They are the industry leaders. They are the biggest in the world by a long shot. If I am to invest in any cruise stock, it is going to be Carnival. And although this news is actually pushing Carnival's price way down, for me, it's more of a reason to buy. It's more promising. You have to read between the lines with these things. But I'm just a 22-year-old kid on the internet who knows nothing, so you should absolutely never listen to me or come to me for investing advice. These are just my own thoughts and opinions. Always make your own decisions, boys. But yeah, guys, Carnival's a crazy one now. I really would appreciate if you drop me a comment with your thoughts on Carnival right now, because I'm sure that there's information I'm missing as well. I definitely don't know everything. These are just the points I wanted to cover, so please let me know your thoughts and opinions. Anything I missed out in the comments down below. Drop the video a like. I'm going to speak to you on the next one, guys. Peace.